Los Angeles, New York, DC, and now Chicago. The circus is on tour, and there are now kerfuffles everywhere. So how do we fight and how do we win? This is the question a lot of people have. So today I want to tell some stories, and I'm going to start with some stories about Chicago. So I was born and raised in Chicago. It's my hometown, the Windy City. And I've traveled a lot, and I've found it really interesting what people say about Chicago. So when I was traveling in the Caribbean, I was involved in different spiritual ceremonies. And I discovered in the Caribbean, and also when I traveled to the continent of Africa, I discovered that Chicago has a reputation. It turns out that there are these kind of like patent medicines or these hoodoo ceremonial objects that you can buy for hoodoo ceremonies, and a lot of them were originally sold in Chicago. So when I was in the Caribbean and also when I was in Africa, there were just two things I could tell people that would get them to take a step back and be in total respect and a little bit fear of who I am. And those two things were, I'm from Chicago and I have Haitian ancestry. So people are afraid of Haitians because of voodoo, and people are afraid of Chicagoans because of hoodoo. And I also used to live in the capital city in DC, and there was, I found when I was there, a very strong, very vibrant Black spiritual community there. And this is all relevant to the story of the circus, right? Because the circus decided to go on tour. They decided they want to visit some cities and start some kerfuffles in different cities. And so they went to the capital city, and they also went to the Windy City. And now the circus has their main big white tent in the capital city, and so you might say, well, they were already there. Did they really go on tour? But they did, because they're kind of promenading throughout the village. And it matters because the clowns who run the circus are doing this as a show of force to say to all the different villages throughout the realm, at any time, at any moment, we might come to your village, and we just want to let you know that the clowns are in charge. Nobody's in charge but the clowns. But the villages they chose to tour in are significant because of what the wise ones have said about the growing spiritual battle that's happening. So if you talk to the dreaming women, the 4 a.m. club, the intuitives, the astro girlies, the crystal gazers, etc., they will tell you that since the circus first came to town, there has been something going on in the astral realms. The astral realms, for those who don't know, is the region outside of the physical region where we go when we leave our body, either at night, or people who travel out of body, you can go to the astral realms. This is where we go when we're having nightmares or dreams, fantasies, and this is where a lot of, magic and witchcraft can take place. And so in the story of the circus, there has been a battle between spiritual forces since the circus first came to town. And this is why the crystal gazers have been such an important part of helping the people in the village to understand what's going on with the circus. For those of us who are sensitive and who are aware of what happens in the astral realm, it's been very obvious since autumn that there's been this kind of a spiritual tussle going on in these other realms. And so this is speeding up right now. And so in the month of September, when the circus goes on tour, this intensifies. And so we have an intensification of the struggle that's happening in the physical, but at the same time, we have an intensification of the struggle that's happening in the astral. And one thing that the wise ones have said is that in this particular fray, this spiritual fray, we have an advantage. We, the people, have an advantage. And the advantage we have is that as spiritual people, we are working as sovereign, autonomous souls, connecting with their higher selves, and then working magically and spiritually as individuals in a collective. Now, of course, it's important for us all to work together, and that's what's happening right now, is this unification is happening. We're beginning to unify. We've been unified more and more since the fall, and this has been in part because of the dreaming women, the dreaming people, and the 4 a.m. club. There are witches and brujas and hoodoos and Wiccans and spiritualists and ceremonialists and medicine people all over this realm who have been battling for the last 9 months. And it was shown to some of us that there is some filthy magic that's been employed by the clowns, and this is part of why they have been able to do some of the things they've been able to do, even though there are laws against it. It's because of the type of magical wards and spells and curses and whatnots that they have been using. And part of this power that they have comes from those beings who are very attracted to the networks of moving people across boundaries for the purpose of traffic bad stuff. And so the whole bad traffic network is directly linked to certain spirits that want to feed off the type of negative energy that comes out of those type of networks. And so this is where they've gotten some of their power. It's complicated. I know, it's a lot. There's all these networks. But what do we need to know about this? All that we need to know about this is that we are stronger, right? And so this is what some people are telling the villagers. So back to the story. So some of the crystal gazers are telling the people that we are stronger than them, and that our voodoo, magic, wards, curses, not curses, but spells, charms, are more powerful than theirs. And how do the villagers know this? How do the crystal gazers know that they are stronger than the clowns? There's a really important way to know this, and that is that we are dealing with a battle between spirituality and religion. And so the circus aligned itself with certain institutions of religion from the very beginning. And this gave them a certain amount of power. But here's the thing. When it comes to these institutions of religion, the way that they work is hierarchical. They have a top-down model, right? And so you have your minister, your priest, your evangelical leader, right? Or in other traditions, your imam, whatever this, the person that's running it, right? And then all the people are taught that they're just supposed to listen to the hierarchy, and they're going to tell them how to have their spiritual experience. And so the power is all concentrated at the top. You have these very powerful figures who are running these churches and temples and mosques. And then you have all these people who are kind of like sheep, who are just doing what they're told to do. Do this ritual, pray this prayer, pay this money, live your life the way we tell you to live. We'll tell you what God says. You don't have to worry yourself about having your own private conversation with God. We got that. We're going to have the communication with God, and you just listen to what we say. We are the messenger. But when it comes to the spiritual villagers, they're not operating within these structures of hierarchy. They're operating either as autonomous individuals, like witches or Wiccans, or they're operating, or hoodoos, or they're operating in communities where they have more of a circular structure, where there are, lots of people, not just one person in charge. But also, the very philosophy of these other traditions is such that people are encouraged to have their own personal experience with the divine, their own mystical experience, to get their own messages from beyond. What that means is that each individual who develops their spirituality, connects with their higher self, learns how to channel messages, learns how to get their own guidance from their ancestors, their angels, their creator. Each of those people, each individual person becomes more and more spiritually powerful over time. Whereas the people that join the religions, they become less and less powerful over time because they're asked to let go of their own sovereignty. So in this spiritual battle, we have on the one side the spiritualists, the hoodoos, the witches, the brujas, and on the other side we have the religious folk. And they're not evenly matched. And so this is why right now it's really important for us, those of us who are spiritual, to really strengthen our connection to a higher self, to ancestors, to angels, to guides, so that we can strengthen our auras and strengthen our power so that we can win this battle. That's what the crystal gazers told the villagers in this story. And so at the same time that all of these people are going into the street dancing and singing and joining arms, we also have this intensification and concentration of spiritual power happening in the Windy City, in the capital city, and actually throughout the realm in all of the villages. It's time to find your coven. Are you meditating? It's time to step into your power. Say the wise